Hello, welcome to my wreath making tutorial. I just want to start off by saying thank you very much for buying your kit from me. I really appreciate it. And I hope you're surrounded by mince pies, biscuits and hot chocolates. And yeah, and you've got everything that you need in your kit to start off with, but I would suggest that if you've got some gardening gloves, to use them, and if you've got either a pair of secateurs or at least a sturdy pair of scissors, to just grab those as well, because they could come in handy. But yeah, start off by grabbing your ring and your wire and thread the wire through the outside of the metal frame and then just spin it to secure it like that, and just tuck the sharp edge over so that you don't get jabbed by it later on. And that's it, you're attached. Now what I tend to start off with is something quite soft, so that when you get round the ring and you're securing off the wire, you're not then wrestling with something prickly like the holly or the pine. So I'm going to start off with some of the conifer. Everybody's got something slightly different in their box, so don't worry if you've not got whatever bit of greenery it is that I'm using at the time. Just use whatever you like, really. Your wreath is going to turn out beautiful because one, you've made it, it's handmade, and two, all of the ingredients that you're starting with, all of this lovely fresh greenery, is just beautiful in its own right anyway, even if it's something as common as garden hedge, a bit of leylandii. It's beautiful and springy and bright green, and it smells amazing. So but yeah, my method of making a wreath is really simple and quite quick actually when you get the knack of it. But basically I make lots of little fans of greenery. I tend to stick with the same variety for each. Well, I suppose you could call them buttonholes as well. But go crazy, take your time, mix it up. It's going to look great. So that's my little fan of greenery, and I have all of the leaves point in the same direction and all of the sticks at the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go anti-clockwise around my around the frame, and I'm going to lay them on the frame like that next to where your wire is, and I have it on an angle sticking up because I like the wreaths to look quite full and quite bushy, but you can play with whatever angle you like. You can even have it laying quite flat against the frame, and that will create quite a thin and minimalistic looking wreath. So yeah, it's completely up to you, whatever your style is. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to be going anti-clockwise. You can go clockwise if you like, but all I will say is lay the fronds, the leaves that way, and the base of your, like, or the sticks, point in the direction you're going, and stick with the same direction and the same pattern sort of all the way around to create, well, so that it looks more even. That's just how I do it. Everyone's probably got their own way, but I just find it makes it look a little bit more even. Yeah, so all you do once you've got your little buttonhole on is just pass the wire over. Just once is fine. You don't need to wrap it round and round, because then you start to notice the wire instead of the greenery. And that's more than enough to hold that little bit of greenery on there like that. So yeah, that's the first one. Now what I will do next is I will put on maybe some ivy. I'm just going to put that down so that I can create another little fan. So yeah, I'll just create a little bunch like that. Again, with all the sticks pointing in the same direction. I'll maybe take a few of the lower leaves off just so that the wire can get a better grip. So like that. And then, so that's my first little fan, and this will be the second one. And as you can see, I'm just laying it over the section before it, and then just again wrap once round with the wire. And you want to keep the tension quite tight, so that as the greenery dries a little bit, it doesn't become loose, but not so tight that you're cheese wiring in half, because that will happen. So yeah, so like that, and then you pretty much just do that all the way around. I tend to go like fern, ivy, holly, yew, pine. I like to keep it sort of quite similar all the way around, but that's just because I'm making a lot, and if I try to be too creative with each one, I get burnt out. So I just stick with the same pattern, and even then they all look completely different. But you've got all the time. Spend however long you want to do on it, and just get creative. And I do recommend just sort of stopping every now and again and holding it back, and having a look, and seeing whether it's sort of evenly spread. But yeah, just enjoy it. It's going to be great. So I'm just going to do a couple more, and then I'm going to speed it along a little bit. So now I'm going to put some holly on. So because buried holly is quite hard for me to find in the hedges, I tend to mix a nice chunky bit of buried holly like that with a plain piece. The plain stuff grows everywhere. I do not struggle to find that. So what I'll do to bulk this out a little bit, I will get a plain section, and I will just do that. So if you've got long sections in the kit that I provided, feel free just to snap them in half or cut them if you can, and just make like these little, what's that, like 4 or 5 inch fans out of yeah, the greenery that I've provided. Now what I will suggest as well is, as you're pulling the wire through, instead of just going over and squashing the leaves down and maybe knocking the berries off, wiggle your way through like that. I've got a feeling that one of these is going to fall because I'm in a bit of a dodgy angle. But yeah, wiggle the wire through so it's sitting against the stem rather than pressing the leaves down, because the leaves are beautiful and you don't want to detract from them by bruising them and having them laying at a funny angle. So that's it, that's my third piece. Wow, they're really sharp. Whew, that was a spiky one. Yeah, and I've also included decorative bits in your kit. Don't worry about those, you know, like the pine cones and the twisted hazel. Don't worry about those until the end. We're going to add those once the entire base is completed. So yeah, enjoy it, and I will see you at the other end of your wreath. Okay, so I finished my wreath, and I tied my wire off. So all I did was, when I got to the end, when I met back up with the beginning of my wreath, is I'll try and lift it up and show you. I pulled my wire up about this far, about 2 inches, and then cut it. This can be a little bit fiddly, so don't worry if some of the tension gets lost. You can always pull it back. And then all I did was I threaded the wire through the outside of the frame, and then I just twisted it a few times to secure it, and then tucked the sharp end into the back of the greenery. And then that's it, secured off. And you've got a plain plus 1 cinnamon stick wreath ready to decorate. I think everybody's got something a little bit different, but I think everyone's definitely got pine cones. So let's start with those without setting myself on fire. I've got a few over here ready to go. So here's a couple of pine cones. What I like to do is actually double them up like that and then twist them, and then you just push the wire through. But I'm not going to do that with these because I just I've got quite a lot of decorative stuff to put on this one because it's for a friend. So it's going to have pine cones and baubles and ribbons and dried flowers and teasels and all sorts. I didn't actually put teasels in yours because they were particularly prickly and left like horrible splinters in my fingers. So I left the teasels out this time, and all of my poppy seed heads got eaten by mum and dad's cows. So I'm sorry, just pine cones and twisted hazel and ribbon for you this year. But if you have got other stuff at home, you could dry some orange slices and maybe put that on. Cinnamon sticks, that's traditional. But I've even seen people decorate with things like dried apple. That looks really nice. You might even have some of your own dried foliage at home that you could tuck in as a way to sparkle it up, or even baubles, or a sentimental, I don't know, clip-on feathery bird or something like that. You can really go crazy. So yeah, you've got your pine cone with the wire. All you do is sort of find a patch that's maybe a little bit bare, maybe it hasn't got berries on or any variegated stuff, and you just get the end of your wire and you just wiggle it through. It can sometimes be a bit fiddly, and I find that if you've packed your wreath quite dense, get a chopstick or something like that and make a hole, or a pencil or something, and make a hole through, and it just helps, because otherwise sometimes the wire can bend. But yeah, so you just poke it through like that, make sure the wires come out on the other side, and then you can literally just wrap it round the frame. Ow, that's spiky holly. And then, yeah, just fold it over. And then that's that, and it can stay on. Yeah, and just literally decorate it however you like. I'm going to get some of this twisted hazel. That's a bit long. I mean, they do look amazing, just having like this really amazing structure just sort of hanging out the top like an amazing antennae. But because I'm going to be selling mine on the Verge side, I have to keep mine quite low-key, because a lot of people are just buying them to go on people's graves as a token of remembrance. So I can't go too loud with my wreaths, because then they won't sell, and that is not good. I do obviously make my own one for my front door, and I do go absolutely nuts with all of the decoration and dried flowers. But these little catkins I particularly like putting on my wreaths, because catkins, I personally feel, are a sign of spring, right? And everybody notices them in like March and April because of the lamb's tails, but they're out now and they look beautiful, and they're that sort of lovely creamy lime colour. But yeah, it's a little reminder of spring, that spring's coming. A long way off yet, I'm afraid. But yeah, with the things like this, you can just, because it's not got the wire on, I just get the end like that and move whatever leaves out the way and just find some of the wire. Sometimes takes a little bit of wiggling, and sometimes it won't go in at all, so I find sometimes cutting it into a point can help. Yeah, so like that. I'm not going to put that in there actually, because there's holly and it's really spiky and my hands have had enough of that. So let's go with here instead. So yeah, there's a little bit of wire just there holding this bit of view on, and I'm just going to tuck that stick in there. And you can do the same thing with like feathers, if you found some like pheasant feathers, or I don't know. Yeah, so just tuck that in like that. Let's go with a bit of this dried baby's breath. Now this particular baby's breath was from my grand's funeral. It was off her coffin, and yeah, that is also a symbol of life and death. And the wreath, yeah, it's just a symbol of life and death. The life carries on. The evergreen is a symbol of life. The catkin is a symbol of spring. There's so much symbolism in a circle throughout all different religions, all different types of spiritual practices. It's everywhere. A symbol of the seasons coming round, life and death, journeying. And I really think that they're really understated. I think people just buy them as a bit of a, well, it's a Christmas thing, we'll just put it on our door. But actually, when you make it yourself, or you get one to give to a friend, or a family member, I just think that's really beautiful, and you can add so many of your own little touches to make it special. So that's going in there as well. Like that. Now I'm obviously going to decorate this a lot more when the camera is off, but for the time being, let's add a ribbon. I don't know if there's any symbolism in a ribbon, but who doesn't like ribbons? They are colourful and bright, and they make your front door look epic. Now, I'm not one for going too much into traditional colours. I'm not a massive fan of the colour red. I like burgundy. But my favourite colour combo is dark blue and silver. I think that's a really lovely wintry colour. But for this one, sorry about that. I'm not used to talking quite as much as this. My friend Jazzy made me this. How amazing is that mug? Lovely. Right. So, ribbons. Where were we? I like to put my ribbon at the top so that the tails hang down through the circle, but you can put your ribbon wherever you want. I'm not particularly good at tying bows, so I just go with the simple. But I think I've tied all of yours in bows, but if you don't like my bow, feel free to undo it and have it however you like. I will not be offended. And again, just find where the top of your wreath is. I quite like the hazel at the top of mine. But actually, do I want the ribbon at the bottom? Or at the top? No, I'm going to stick with it at the top. So again, you just poke it through the greenery and out the back. And what I tend to do with the ribbon, and I think I've left enough wire for you so that you can put the ribbon like that. Don't pull it too tight, because otherwise it all just disappears into the greenery. So leave it quite loose. And then what I do is I wrap the wire to secure it around the outside of the frame. Again, make sure not to pull it too tightly. And then I twist it into a bit of a loop, like that. And I just twist it so that I've got something to, and I twist it 4, 5, 6 times. Well, I have no idea where the end of that video went, but I'm now onto the task of gilding baubles. But yeah, basically what I was saying is I just twist the wire around at the back to create a small loop so that you have somewhere to hang your wreath from. That was it. And obviously I just wanted to say I really hope you enjoyed making a wreath, and please send me a picture or a video of you making it, because I would love to see what you created. Yeah, so thanks very much. Sorry the video isn't very pro, but I'm not very good at this sort of thing. And yeah, the wreath making kits were a very last minute idea. Somebody messaged me and said, will you be doing kits this year? And I said, I'll think about it. And then they just appeared to be very popular, which I'm really pleased about, because I like the idea of people making their own rather than just buying, well, mostly just one from the supermarket, because of course I'm going to like it if you get a wreath from me as well, because I really enjoy making them, even though they're really prickly and my hands don't like it. I find anything repetitive is a nice job, like putting copper foil onto baubles over and over again. It's very relaxing. Anyway, best close this video up now because it is late. I'm waffling and you've probably got other things to do, like tidy up all of the random bits of greenery that have probably fallen all over your floor. So yeah, good night.